Welcome back to Euractiv's EU Tweets of the Week. Brand new vaccine is just the job, US Capitol stormed by angry mob, and China investment deal makes MEPs sob. First, let's start with the good news. On Wednesday, the European Medicines Agency approved the Moderna vaccine for EU use, and 160 million doses are on order. Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the vaccine is safe and effective, and the EU will be working at full speed to make it available in the EU. Aye, aye, Captain, quipped MEP assistant, predicting that rollout in individual member states might not be so speedy. Gareth Harding agreed. Stop blaming the EU for slow COVID vaccination, he said. Darren McCaffrey also pointed the finger of blame for slow rollout at poor planning by national governments. And Diego Velázquez said the Brussels bashing was just plain weird. Meanwhile, has AstraZeneca even applied for approval yet? Asked aiding Kurt Eli. On to less joyful matters. The world watched agog on Wednesday night as a mob of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol in Washington, D.C. Whipped into a frenzy by the outgoing president, things took an ugly turn as the criminals broke in. As Twitter and Facebook finally suspended Trump's accounts, many were quick to point out the role of social media. From a website to rate women on campus, all the way to the Capitol seems to be under the control of a man in a Viking hat. Before we move on, can we take a minute amid all the madness to just pause for a moment and contemplate the complete look this fascist was serving? Jamiroquai, Burning Man, Village People, he was ticking all the boxes. As the night wore on, many people juxtaposed what was happening in DC with other parts of the world. When I left DC 3 years ago, quite a few Americans expressed concerns for my safety in Brussels, said Dave Clark. So comforting to watch all of this from the quietness of hellhole Molenbeek, added Christoph Schmidt, while even Venezuela expressed its concern over the violence and instability in the US. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg described the scenes as shocking and said the outcome of the democratic election must be respected. It takes a hell of a lot for the NATO Sec-Gen to weigh in on internal developments in allied countries, said Terry Schultz. Europe is incredulous right now. Indeed it was. Belgium, shock and disbelief. Italy, violence is incompatible with democratic rights. UK, disgraceful scenes, and so on and so on. And we haven't even finished week 1 of 2021. At least spoof Angela Merkel assured us that her departure from office is going to be very boring. Were I the EU, I would simply immediately sign a trade deal with China, but only after it agreed to stop being a communist dictatorship, tweeted Martini Seltzemeyer. Well, funny you should mention that, as last week the EU and China concluded in principle negotiations for a comprehensive agreement on investment, or CAI for short. New year, new me, tweeted DG Trade. But with the final text still not available, a lot of people were sceptical about China's promises to adhere to new commitments on human rights. The EU is always willing to pay lip service to human rights, but in the end always ends up colluding with abusive regimes to protect exports, said Wolfgang Monschau. Malin Oud said that for all its talk, the EU still seems to engage in a lot of wishful thinking and willful ignorance regarding China. Matt Habinowski wondered why, when every single line of the now-defunct TTIP agreement was scrutinised and debated, the CAI has been met with a collective shrug from EU capitals. But it's not a done deal. The European Parliament must give its approval, and Samira Raffaella, along with dozens of fellow MEPs, stated plainly, I will have a hard time voting for this deal. The CAI has absolutely no chance of approval from the European Parliament once the treatment of Uyghur women gets the publicity it deserves, along with prison labour, mass surveillance. No political group will want to touch it, and it will be rejected with a massive majority, predicted Thomas Wostowski. I'm not sure I'd be making any predictions for this year, Thomas, but I will be back next week with more snarks and larks from the Brussels bubble Twitter sphere.